Alright, what's going on, guys? Here I am back with another video really quickly. Do a quick breakdown on Friday's trading. Again, guys, these videos are just going to be very raw, unedited. It's more so for me and documentation purposes for myself. I really want to, give trading my all in 2026 and just, document the whole process from where I'm at now to eventually being successful with trading. And so that's the end goal. I don't plan on switching up. I've already dove into many other business ventures and fell victim of the shiny object syndrome and trying multiple different businesses, and trading is what I very first started out with. It was my first love, right? I actually gave trading my most time out of all the other businesses that I've tried, drop shipping and e-commerce and all those other shits. I just started trading back in like 2022, I believe, and actually tried it for a year, but I was in college. So I was in college classes trying to trade New York session, and unfortunately at the time I was in calculus and had a sorry ass teacher who didn't allow electronics in his class. The only teacher in 2022 that I'd known that didn't allow electronics in his class. So I was trying to sneak trade, and of course that class was right at 9:30, the New York session. But even then I was still very mature. I was in a signals group with my boy Adrian, which shout out to him, but which I feel like that's how most of us start out. But now I'm at a much better place as far as just knowing, signal groups aren't going to help you, right? I don't plan on calling signals for people in the future. I don't really plan on selling a course, none of that stuff. Because if I can make enough money for myself, then, what do I need to make a course for? But yeah, not going to rant on that too much, but I'm in a much better place physically, mentally, all of those good things. And so I feel like everything is a plan at the end of the day, right? I feel like God made me go through all of that to really realize what I needed to do. And I've got that understanding now. And so we're here now. So I'll take you a little bit of a trade recap on the Thursday night that I took. It was New Year's Day, so obviously I shouldn't have been trading, and I did end up getting a loss, which could have very much been a win. But I'm still working on things like greed and taking what the market gives me. But I'm not stressed about it, right? Because I have the knowledge that I can't dive into these things. I'm aware that I'm being greedy in these situations and not just saying, oh, the market's rigged and all this, blah, blah, blah. I'm admitting to my mistakes. But yeah, I'll break this down really quickly for you guys. As you can see, PM session, we had a 300-point drop or 200-point drop. And typically after we see these big drops from New York session, typically Asia takes quite a while to creep back up. But as you can see, we are already all the way back at the top at 11:30. But yeah, so what I was looking for is mainly I've recently back tested Asia session for a while, and came across marking out these 5-minute swing highs and lows to be very beneficial for my strategy. And so basically we had this new day opening gap that we hadn't traded back into yet. I marked out those swing highs and lows, and was pretty much waiting on price to come back to those, or come back and fill this gap and then continue higher. But again, obviously this wasn't supposed to happen. I'm not saying this is supposed to happen tonight. It very much could have happened the very next day in New York session, which is what happened. But in this case, we didn't know that it was going to happen, right? So we're looking at this swing high, and I let my eyes draw to this internal liquidity on the 1-minute time frame. Now, typically, I do like to see the strategy that I've been testing with my 5-minute swing highs and lows is that typically when price swings and takes out this internal liquidity, then if it's not very strong like this move here, then it'll typically play around and then eventually take out the internal liquidity as well. And so if I would have waited for that and been patient, I think the buildup of, being patient all over Christmas time and whatnot just kind of got to me. I let that get to me psychologically, and just was ready to trade. I think that's the main thing I have to get down is being patient and disciplined. I have the skill to make me a lot of money in trading at this moment already. I know how to trade, but the only thing I have to beat now is the psychology part, right? But anyways, still could have been a very, quick little setup that I could have got in and out, right? We took out this internal liquidity here. I didn't like this. I wanted to see, a pretty strong candle close above that internal liquidity, which we got here. And typically we like to see a fair value gap get formed here, which we did. Now I don't really base my trades off of these because sometimes it doesn't happen and our setup still happens, but typically we want to see this FVG get inversed if we do get that. And so as you can see, we created a nice little swing low here for our market structure shift. I pretty much trade the 2022 ICT strategy, right? So got our swing on our draw on liquidity here. Then we came down, created a nice little swing low here for us to take out for our market structure shift. As you can see here, we took out that for our market structure shift, and I like to see this break past this bullish candle before we come back down and make our market structure shift, right? And this is the candle that created the inversion fair value gap. So we like to see that strong close below the bottom of this candle here, which we got here, and we got our clean fair value gap as well on the break of that on that market structure shift. So now we're just waiting for price. Have my limit order set here, and again I let my psychology get to me. I have my stop loss above this high. Again, we had a true market structure shift, which I should have been telling myself we had a true market structure shift. So I don't like to see a strong close through our fair value gap here, because typically I have seen in the past as well, price tends to keep going when that happens, right? But it also doesn't happen every time. So I should have been willing to, every time you get in a trade, you need to, whatever risk you set out, you need to stick to that risk, right? Don't close your trades early. Whatever your risk you're willing to take, it shouldn't be, causing you to potentially blow your account. Like, you should be very comfortable with that risk. If not, then you need to size down and just build up small wins over and over until you can eventually scale up. Now, I was very comfortable with this risk. I just, again, psychology, I got to keep working on it. I let it get to me. I saw this candle trading up, and I saw this bullish candle here. Although this is, like a doji or whatever, I don't really trade those, but that could have been a little signal to me that, it's not going to keep going, because we would have seen a very strong candle close here on this second candle bullish if it would have. So I let this wick here get to me and close my trade early, but I very much could have held and targeted. We always target our first low, right, which would have been here. That low, or we could have even targeted these lows here, which we wouldn't have got, right? And so even if we would have took this one, look, like the risk wouldn't even have been a 1-to-1, right? So, but look, even if we did hold, let's say we did just want to shoot for a 1-to-1, which would have been here. Boom, we got it here. Okay, we could have waited for this candle to close. We could have went break even. So regardless, we would have got stopped out at break even, and we could have targeted this very next target here. Again, it's New Year's Day. I shouldn't be getting greedy here, right? So I'm expecting this shit to fucking come down here and instantly go ahead and take out this New Day gap. But I shouldn't be greedy here, right? I'm trading 3 micros, I think, so I could have easily scaled out, right, and left a runner for that new day opening gap, which would have eventually stopped at a break even, right? But boom, if I would have just trusted my stop loss here, and I don't really know this yet, but I've seen ICT teach this. I believe that this is an order block here, right? So if we were to measure this out, as you can see, let's pull up the 0.75 mark. As you can see, boom, this push up here, this one stopped right at the consequent encroachment of this order block. I believe this is how you trade these order blocks. It's like the first, the last green candles on that push up before you hit your market structure shift. But boom, stopped right at the consequent encroachment. That alone should have told me, if I looked at this, that alone should have made me more comfortable. Because sometimes price will trade through and then stop at that consequent encroachment of that order block, which will be a little bit higher than your fair value gap sometimes. But then boom, even here, stopped right at our 0.75 mark and then came down and took our profit here. So we could have easily hit for a little 1.86 risk reward. Probably would have made like $75 to $100 or so. But it's okay. We didn't get that. And we did take a little $50 loss. We do have our personal daily loss limits in place to where we can only lose $50 max. And so as you see, we did that here. Now I did end up closing that position here. Like I said, closed early by not trusting my strategy. And then I tried to get in again here and have my stop loss above this high and just barely got wigged out. So again, if I would have trusted my strategy and just placed my stop loss here, then I seen this market structure shift here and then another market structure shift here on the swing of this low. So even though this high should have been protected, I still could have put it above this high, which would have been more risk, right? But at the same time, it's tough, right? Just unfortunate that, because typically this second high does get protected, right? But in this case, it probably was a lot of people's stop losses here, and so price wicked out and snagged those, and then instantly returned and hit our profit target down there. But again, overall pretty strong draw on liquidity, on this internal liquidity here. On the 1 minute time frame, this shows me that I need to wait for at least one external liquidity, which would have been that 5-minute one, to be taken out, to be swept with displacement. So a strong push up before entering a trade. Also could have been waiting for the next setup if I had simply only risked $25. Half of my personal daily loss limit on this, which if I would have stuck to this, to my stop loss here and only been risking $25, I could have been more comfortable with knowing that I could have found another trade, right? And I could have hit my profit target or took profits down here, right? Took partials or whatever. And it wouldn't even have been a loss on the day, So could have had that happen and just simply trusted my first entry and could have easily went break even after the second drop and then wouldn't have been locked out for the day, since there would likely been a setup since the new day opening gap hasn't been filled, right? So unfortunately price did push all the way up, which I only trade if my setup is presented. So as you can see, we did take out this external liquidity. I would have been waiting for a market structure shift and a fair value gap to form. So it'd probably been something like this. Boom, we got our market structure shift. As you can see though, no fair value gaps within here. So there would have been no trade setup. And just all the way up, I was watching this thing all the way up and it just did not give us our setup, right? So it would have just been a no trade day. I would have been looking for this high here to be taken out and got our trade. But I think it did end up giving us, right? And this was all the way at 11 o'clock. I typically don't like to trade any past like 9 or 10. So would have been very light risk on this. But we did get a clean little market structure shift here. We would have got this fair value gap here after our drawdown liquidity. Perfectly tapped the fair value gap. Could have been targeting our first target would have been this low here, and then we could have targeted these lows as well. And as you can see, we clearly got that. Now this is a later trade in the day, so I definitely would have needed to be, less risk, shoot for a 1-to-1. Easily would have got our 1-to-1 here. Boom. Could have been a wraps just because we're trading so late. But it's all right. Cool little breakdown. Again, these recordings just help me say out, speak out loud what I did wrong, what I needed to be fixing. Again, documenting my journey. Still, we're sitting, pretty good from what we were. We were down to 1917, I believe, which gave us like a $75 range before we lost this account. But we're still sitting at $220 in loss, right? Probably going to go ahead and scale my personal daily loss limit back to $25 per day. I may stay at 50 until we get to 150 left, because then I would only be able to have 3 losing trades before losing the account. Whereas if I scale back to $25, then I can have 6 losing trades, which there's no way I'm losing 6 trades in a row. So if we continue to lose, which I don't think we will, again, just got to stay disciplined, stay patient. If I'd have been patient and just, had the knowledge of, there's so many ways I could have won this, right? Just been patient and waited for the external liquidity to be swept. Then eventually it would have just turned into a no trading day. I would have been okay. I should have been okay with that, knowing that it's New Year's Day. I had Friday to trade. Since I was off work, so I could have traded New York session, which we got a beautiful move, by the way. But I missed that because my account was closed until the next day, right? So if I'd have just been patient, could have not have even taken a trade, or if I would have trusted my strategy and just didn't get greedy and, shot for these smaller profit targets here, we could have, easily got a, quick little come up. Probably would have been a very small win, like $25 to $50, but still, we have to be okay with those wins, right? Even just given the conditions, it's, New Year's price action, and we didn't sweep that external liquidity, right? But yeah, that's my breakdown. Again, guys, it's just, only for documentation purposes, but, if you want to subscribe and follow along my journey, that's, totally dope. Would love to, meet with other people trading ICT and grow together. But yeah, see y'all in the next one.